everyone. I'm Shakira. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to get this
Absolutely. Thank you for joining.
started. I was seeing the chat, looking at where everyone's from. Welcome, Belgium, and everywhere else.
Yo, Shakira, what's up? What's
Absolutely.
up?
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
That's dope. So Nakeem was rating off your bio before you jumped in the room, so she's gonna go off.
Sounds good. So you
Absolutely.
want
Okay, so
go ahead.
yeah, I'll go ahead and read it off. So a little about Shakira. Shakira is an employee of Empire Music. She's an executive assistant to Nina. She is from Queens, New York. A little about Shakira. During college, Shakira began working with major artists on the management side and has been learning marketing, project management for creatives. Some of the artists she worked for has been A Boogie, G Herbo, and Marie, and many more. For many years, music was her true passion. Um, all the way up until her moment she had her son, and she's continuing to be a great artist and putting a great impact in the music world. For the words that she lives by, she does the best she can until she knows better, and then when you know better, you do better. So we'll just open the floor to her and begin us some great questions.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that intro. That was very well said. So a little
Absolutely,
bit
absolutely.
about me is my name is Shakira, as you know. I went to St. John's University for some time, and then I graduated from Curtis, which is an art school, and I got my bachelor's in arts management and digital marketing. So, aside from college, my passion is just music, and I love talent and real artistry. And that's just something that I grew up listening to, music from my mom's side. I'm Guyanese, so I kind of had all different genres of music in my life since I was born. I had like the soca, the reggae, the hip hop, the chutney, kind of just anything you can name it. I've always also been very open minded. So, with that being said, I decided to reach out to some people after doing a lot of research while I was about 18, 19, in the midst of me going to St. John's University. I decided to do some research on some executives in music, whether it be managers, artists, executives at labels, things like that. And pretty much no one got back to me. It took a very long time to even get in touch with anyone, but I did not let that discourage me because, as you know, you're never supposed to give up. You're supposed to keep trying and keep persevering. So I kept at it, and eventually one person got back to me, and this person ended up becoming a Boogie's manager. So, with that being said, I ended up being the assistant manager to A Boogie the label for a few years. Then I went on to help managing Ledfo alongside Show as well. And then I went on to help manage G Herbo, Tink, Anne Marie, and a whole bunch of other artists from Chicago. And then from there, I ended up getting found by Empire. And yes, so, that's just been my journey with different artist management teams, different labels. I've had, a super great journey in the music industry, and I've been lucky enough to work with different labels and get a feel for how the artist management side of things works along with the label side of things. So, yeah.
No, that's super cool. That's super cool. That's a lot of stuff seems like it's happened really fast. You definitely have to stay on your feet and manage. That's definitely what dealing with those artists. But can you share the moment when you knew you like the exact moment you knew you wanted to work in the music industry?
The exact moment I knew, let's see, that's a great question. I have always been, I would say one of my favorite artists is Nas, and I started interning when I was in high school. In my senior year of high school, I went to school in Westchester. Although I'm from Queens, I went to high school in Westchester. So in my senior year of high school, they do this program where in about March, April of your senior year, you stop going to school and you do kind of like an internship, but those credits count towards the end of your year. So when I was about 17, I did an internship at V Files, which is a
Nice.
huge social media platform and just like a social media slash fashion hub in Soho. And they're in association and collaboration with V Magazine, which is a very well-known magazine as well. So I would say once I got that internship kind of in high school, it opened so many different doors for me that I did not know existed. I was able to meet designers, I was able to meet musicians, artists, and just so many different people of many different backgrounds, whether it be fashion or just entertainment in general. That's when I first, I would say, kind of sparked my interest into the music industry.
Nice, nice. That's a great information. Another question we have for you is, how do you think the digital era has reshaped the music industry in terms of like music distribution and just artist discovery?
Beats.
Beats? Is that what you're saying? I so I think that the digital era is great. And I think that, although all the information is at a person's fingertips, I think that can, have everything has its pros and cons in life. But I think that it's a great thing, especially with beats, especially, Beat Library and what they're doing. I think that's amazing because it's super hard for artists to get their money. And I think when an artist is able to do that, I think it means the world, especially the right way.
I got it. So Shakira, real quick, not to go back, but when you made that decision, because you went to St. John Fisher, and I'm pretty sure when you
St.
made
John's
that decision that
University, yes.
yeah, you went to St. John's. I'm sorry. So when you made that decision to pursue music, how did your family take it? How did your mom take it? Was it any resistance? Were they supportive? Were you just going, out on your own?
And so with that, it definitely was extremely hard. I coming from a Caribbean background, my mom is Guyanese as well, and my stepdad is Italian. But it was extremely hard. My mom didn't really believe the music industry existed. I don't really think the older generations truly understand exactly the social media era and especially, digital marketing and things like that. But I think it's hard for them to believe that the music industry and the entertainment industry alone is also an industry that makes money aside from the creators too. So it was hard for sure, but I was able to still keep pushing forward.
Back to another question we have is, can you provide any insights on how emerging artists can initiate themselves from an overcrowded market? So basically, how they can separate themselves and stand
Mm.
out more.
So I believe that each artist needs to truly stay true to themselves. I think it's very quick to get lost in the sauce, whether that be looking at other artists, Instagram or social media. It's very hard for someone to not get, to lose their image or, say, oh, hey, this artist is doing that. This artist is wearing this. Why shouldn't I be doing this? But I think it's important for that artist to understand themselves and just be themselves. Don't ever worry about what other people are doing because at the end of the day, a trendsetter is a person who, starts from just being themselves and just wearing what they feel like they want to wear.
For sure. Like you've seen countless artists rise to fame. Are there like common traits or habits that you can share that are successful?
What do you mean by that?
So about like what do you feel as artists coming up makes them stand out? Or what have you seen
Mm,
like a pattern that has worked for artists that have, pretty much popped like recently?
definitely. I believe what makes an artist stand out to me is their work ethic. It's extremely hard. I think a lot of people think that being an artist is super easy and, waking up early should never be a problem. But I think that when an artist understands that there's also the work side to things too, aside from creating music, I think that's the beauty of it. And I think that's where the real success comes.
As far as like branding, what are some key tips for artists that have smaller budgets? What do you think is the most important thing as far as branding to be able to invest their money in when it comes to like rollouts, content? Because TikTok and social media have played a major role in like discovering new artists. So what do you feel like is a good venue or like a platform to invest in?
Mhm. So I think that for artists with lower budgets, I think it's super important to build relationships with other creatives. Let's say you're looking for a photographer or a videographer. I think it's important to build relationships with these creatives who are also trying to be on the rise as well. Um, and with that being said, when you build together, you're able to grow together and you make more money together. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. From like seeing art, being surrounded by independent artists and artists on the rise, a lot of artists struggle with, I guess, rollouts period. Not to go back to the question you just answered, but like rollouts period. They don't know where to start. It's like, okay, I have the music, I have the beats. Where do I what do I do next? Like, how do I organize this? Do you have like I guess I say a template that artists can follow to be able to like plan rollouts and just things of that nature surrounding like the music?
mhm. Um, I would suggest a template in terms of I definitely know the breakdown of kind of where to start, just giving my personal opinion. Once you have the songs and once you have the beats, then it's time to like really sit down and try to understand the story that you're going to tell, whether it be with yourself or your manager or your best friend or your mom, but really just to sit down, figure out the story that you're trying to tell. And once you know the story that you're trying to tell, um, I think then you'll have a clear idea of where to go from there. Um, so yeah, I'm not sure. Did that answer your question?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Another one I have is like, what qualities do you think execs look for in an artist when they consider signing them?
Definitely work ethic and just, wanting to go to the studio, just having that energy of wanting to do things, wanting to go to the studio, wanting to network. I'm a huge believer that in order to get to certain places in your career, you also have to network and mix and mingle. And trust me, I've worked with artists who absolutely hate going to events, who don't want to go to anything. But
Absolutely.
unfortunately, sometimes you just need to do that. And, you never know. You could say hi to 20 people and you may get nothing out of it. Maybe one day you'll say hi to 20 people and maybe one day one person will actually make it worthwhile. So,
So you mentioned like networking. So from your perspective, as an artist coming up, what are some type of events that upcoming artists can go to pretty much build their network?
so I think local events in the fashion and music scene would be great. There's always things happening that aren't, upper echelon highbrow events. There's always local underground events happening. And I think it's important to go to those too, just because one thinks that, oh, hey, there's not, hundreds of people RSVPing or whatever the case may be. Hey, I don't know anyone on this flyer, so I don't think it's worth my time. No, you never know who you would run into there. Um, that's where a majority of artists start. They go to all these underground events, whether that be in New York City, the Lower East Side, or in California. But each city kind of has its own underground scene. I think it's super important to just be aware of what's going on aside from the mainstream um, scene.
For sure. Another question I have for you is, what are the most important roles for artist management?
The most important roles for artist management is definitely organization. It's so important to stay organized. I always have a notebook on me. Aside from my phone that is ringing nonstop, I always have my notebook on me just because I know people are like, oh, I have my phone, I can write and things and notes and things like that. But when you write things down physically, it kind of has a different way of ingraining itself into your memory and it helps you
For sure.
memorize things more. It's kind of like a little old school trick my mom taught me, but something I definitely will stick to.
For sure. Damn, that's a good thing to do. Like, I feel like I do the same thing as far as like keeping notes and it helps you keep track of it because it becomes like second nature. Then you
Hmm.
can go back and refer to it. So that's definitely great. Another thing is how you go about co-management situations as
You
far as
said
like dealing with like multiple
co-management
artists.
situation?
Yes.
As far as multiple artists or multiple managers?
Let's do both. So dealing with multiple managers and then just dealing with management in general
Hmm.
when it comes to like
So
artists.
when it comes to multiple managers, I think that each manager has their own qualities, right? So, if an artist decides to have two managers, I definitely believe it's, for the right reason, simply because maybe this manager can do something that the other manager can't. So, as long as they balance each other out, I think that's totally fine. In terms of managing multiple artists, I think that's great as well, as long as you are able to, dedicate your time evenly amongst these artists. It's super important to show your artists that you care about each and every one of them. And, as hard as that is, I'm sure for a lot of people, even if you can show them in other ways that you are there and you care, I think that's really important as well. But definitely being present with your artists is important.
Absolutely. You mentioned work ethic a few times in your story about pushing through. Definitely speaks to staying like motivated and to your success. What are some advice that you have for people that maybe have had their break yet or might be feeling like discouraged?
Trust me, you are not the only one. If you don't feel discouraged at all in your career, then something is not right, okay? Everyone feels like that. And I know that sounds super cliche, but every single person goes through that feeling. My advice is to push through and continue being great and doing what you do, and the universe will always reward you. Don't let negative things get you down, because if you let negative things get you down, or someone turning you down or saying no, that means you're going to block your blessings, and you never want to block your blessings. You always want to
For
present
sure.
yourself as never phased and, just always moving forward.
Another question I have for you is like, so with music, and like new artists, there's always like some type of trend that always, pops up. Can you describe like what kind of trends have you, since you've been in this position that have been successful, ones that haven't exactly been successful, or some that you think that you might like to see?
So I absolutely love TikTok.
Uh,
I think TikTok is just a huge factor in social media. It is literally like a YouTube, a shorter version. And I think that the songs and the remixes and things like that, that is such a great social media tool that I think, artists and their teams can profit off of, because it is being used all day, every day, and new ideas are forming on there. And I think that's a great tool as well. I think also utilizing Instagram Reels and utilizing, Facebook ads, which also ties into Instagram too. But even if you're a low budget, which we've mentioned before, if you're a low budget artist, even if you have, let's say, $20 and you're able to invest that in a marketing ad on Facebook, I think that's a great way, because you never know, those additional few hundred views can definitely help you. So, yeah.
so for like artists or whatnot, they sometimes they already don't have like a big enough budget. So do you feel like content is quality over quantity, or is any content good content?
Content in my eyes, you can ask someone else and they may give you a different answer. So just always know that this is my personal opinion, you know. But
For sure.
me personally, and when it comes to content, I love quality. So I think that an artist that wants to put out quantity and just video after video after video after video just to get their name out there, or song after song after song, I personally believe in quality over quantity. I think that when you can hone in on one specific song or project for a few weeks or a few months, I think that that's just the best way. That's, when you can put your all into one thing, I think it'll show
Absolutely.
and the results will be much better than putting out multiple different things.
Gotcha. So you said without putting out multiple different things. So if so let's say an artist has a song, right? How long should they campaign that song before it's like before moving on to the next project or moving on to the next thing? Should they post this song like completely every day, or should they structure it and tailor it more to like the algorithm, or like how should they go about that?
I think they should definitely structure and tailor it more to the algorithm. I don't believe in like bombarding people with the same thing over and over again because people see things, you know? Um, just because you're not getting any likes or comments or anything doesn't mean that they don't see anything, but people definitely see things. So with that being said, I believe in, posting once or twice on your Instagram story, maybe posting once on your Instagram page, but I don't suggest like posting it multiple times every single day or every other day, even once a week. I think that's cool, you know?
Absolutely. So a little bit, let's go a little bit back, and talk about your career. What is a full circle moment that you have had in your career?
A full circle moment. I guess that would be recently where I started my career in a certain studio, and then I fast forward a few years later, I ended up overseeing the studio that I, started my career in. So I think that was really amazing because I remember being there when I was like 19 years old, and years later I ended up overseeing it. So that was pretty cool for me.
That's really cool. One person asked, "What are your daily tasks at Empire?"
So while working at a label, it kind of is similar to really any record label. It really depends on, what a person does. But similar to most of the labels that I've worked with in my past, it's really just, it depends on your title, of course, but really just kind of seeing what's going on and just seeing how you can make things better. And just being a head start, just getting things done and not waiting for anyone to tell you what to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. So another question we have is, how do you go about joining uh, existing management team?
As a manager, as a manager, or as what would you say?
Um, as a manager.
Okay. I think that's a little tricky if you want to join an existing team already. But, I know that in some circumstances that's possible because I know that some management teams are looking to become a firm and have multiple people on their firm. So I think, that could work and things like that. Um, but I would always suggest in, building a relationship with that manager. Whoever the manager is, right, at that moment, I would suggest building that relationship and letting them know what you want to do and always be open with what you want to do and where you want to go with people. I think that's really important as well.
Absolutely. So I know a little bit. I do with artists too from the day-to-day time. So the thing sometimes artists like struggle with is like finding their sound. Do you have any advice for artists that are making music that doesn't sound like what's already being marketed?
No, keep doing it, keep making your music. Just because it's not what's playing on the radio, it's not what's mainstream right now, you would be surprised at what's not mainstream and what plays. Like there are so many other things that's not mainstream that, the world does not know about, and that's simply because they're not being pushed by a major label or whatever the case may be, but that doesn't mean that your art is not good. Everyone has their own genre, everyone has their own taste, their style, their unique sense of style. So continue making your music. Just make sure when it comes to your videos and your photo shoots that you're able to, show that in a creative way as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can you give any examples of projects that you have been a part of for like new artists that you have, brought out? What are some things, key things that like you tell artists when they're trying to plan things?
hmm I would say not have tons of people around you. I know a lot of artists love to have tons of people around you, but I don't think that the artist will always understand that that's probably not the best. I would say, just really have like your one best friend or something that you love, and then your one engineer, producer that you really vibe with, and go in a room and you guys vibe out and do it that way. Don't bring a crowd to the studio. Don't bring people to just show off and show them who you are and things like that, because that'll mess up, your thought process, and then you won't be able to think correctly, and now you're focused on entertaining them when in reality it's about you. So always focus on yourself and remember it's about you and your art and your creativity.
Absolutely. So in this day and age, like a lot of artists are worried about streams and, I'm not getting enough streams or enough people are watching. Like, do you feel like what should artists be focused on outside of streams? Because that is one thing that like I know a lot of artists are worried about.
Definitely the image, the brand. Okay, so definitely the image, definitely the brand, and definitely just telling the story. I always go back to telling the story, whether it's through the video or through the photo shoots, but your image is super important. It's really important to stay consistent. Definitely your brand as well. Figure out exactly is what you want to push and figure out what it is that, the people love.
Another question from the comments was what is the minimum budget for a song what is the minimum budget that an artist should put towards a song to promote it for like social media?
I would say the more the merrier. I don't really put anything, but the more that you're able to put, the better.
But what are some daily things artists can incorporate into their routine?
Definitely exercising, media training, vocal training, and just taking care of their health and nutrition for sure. I would say
Okay.
yoga too
Oh,
and meditation.
oh yeah, yeah. This is for producers, artists all around. What are some ways that they can themselves? Because like now everything is mainly online. So what are some ways that they can promote themselves like in person? Like I know you mentioned like going to events and things like that, but what are some specific like events that they should be able to attend
I would say really any
or should
opening,
look at?
any shows, at some of the spots in Brooklyn, for example. Just any of the venues that, not even large venues, just small venues that have events with artists, up and coming artists every weekend, every night. Those are super important. I keep mentioning the Lower East Side and Soho if you're in the New York area, because that's really where a lot of the fashion and the music scene starts from. So yeah, those kind of events.
And then from reading your bio, I saw that you were a mom. Has being a mom inspired your career and changed the way you approach your career?
Yes, definitely. I love being a mom. Being a mom is the best thing ever, and it's so great because I love when people they don't even know that I'm a mom, and then I mention it and they're just like so shocked. They have no idea how I can handle it, but that's because I'm able to separate the two. I have work mode, and then there's, Shakira in mom mode. So it's both, but I love being a mom. It's been amazing.
Yeah,
Also, and
absolutely.
also
Do
I
you feel like
see,
you're what type of
oh, go ahead.
great? Oh, what I was going to ask you is like, do you feel like your personality helps you on this on like the career that you work in?
Yes, I would say my
Like, do you feel
personality.
like you have to have a specific personality?
I wouldn't say you have to have a specific personality, but I would definitely say that my personality has helped me. I was not always like this. I was super shy when I was younger. I was not sociable, anything, personable, anything of the sort. So it definitely took a lot of learning and just being placed in certain predicaments where I just had to learn to speak up. It definitely grew on me, and I definitely, as I got older, I was able to speak up more, and I think that's great. And I also see some people mentioning about women. Yes. So, as you know, I am a woman of color. I'm Guyanese, I'm West Indian, I'm Caribbean. Yes, it has been a challenge, especially dealing with extremely powerful men and powerful women, and, predominantly, white women and men as well. So yes, it has been a challenge. However, that's just something that everyone has to deal with in the world, and it's important to just always remain kind and remain respectful. And if someone doesn't, respect that, whether it be a man or a woman, always make sure to put your foot down, but you always keep it pushing, make sure you know everything. Don't ever let anyone walk all over you. That was something my mom taught me, and that's something that I very much stick by. So I hope that answered your question.
Absolutely. So, being a female in this industry, can you tell us what type of battles that you fight in your work environment?
Mm, you know, just I think in the entirety of my career, it's just simply just being able to stand up for yourself and just being confident. And the battles I've dealt with are more so just unrelated to me and just situations that I've been placed in or placed around, but I was able to simply speak up. And just when you speak up, when you're placed in certain situations, people respect that even more, because that's rare for a person, let alone a woman, to speak up.
Absolutely. So, like, for do you feel like the ideas that coming in, obviously being a woman and new to this artist is more more dominated by men. Do you feel like your viewpoints get through more often, or do you feel like you had to like work harder for people to actually understand where you're coming from and the ideas and the value that you have to share?
I think that in certain instances, I would say that happened to me, but for the most part, thankfully, my previous, sorry, thankfully, my previous mentors, some of my previous mentors, and some of my previous employers, um, have respected me, and they've just always valued my opinion. So I never really had an issue with some. With a few, I have, and I still make my opinion clear and vocal. That really doesn't stop me, because if you stop vocalizing your opinion, then everyone's going to think that, they've won, and you don't want people to think that. Someone
Absolutely.
said, I
So,
see
like,
someone said
how do
that,
you feel about the rise?
sorry, I see someone asked, do you prefer to work with men or women? That's so funny. Personally, I love working with both, of course, always. However, though, the men that I worked with in my career, they were the ones who pushed me forward and believed in me. There have been very few women who I've been lucky enough to have on my side, and that is rare. So that's why I've made it a priority in my career to always help the next woman, to always be, someone that a woman can come to for advice, for help, for anything, because I never had that. So I always make it clear that, it's great to just help both men and women. But yeah.
So how do you feel about the rise of women in hip hop right now? And is that something labels are looking for right now, like new female hip hop talent?
Definitely. I love it. I love it. I'm so proud of our women. I know some people can say it's wild, but I love it because, women are finally just getting to be ourselves and, just judgment free. Who cares what other people think? And that's just how we're living in the newer generations.
So cool. So as far as like women and women artists that have been popping right now, like what are some things that you would like to see from new for if there's any women that make music, what are some things that you would like to see or genres of music that you would like to hear out or new things that you haven't heard yet?
R&B, I love our alternative R&B, but I think that there are more and more women in many different genres that are, rising and on the star and on the rise, and I'm so proud and I am blessed to just be able to watch their journey. It's great.
Absolutely. So quick question. So as of right now, who are some artists that you're listening to and who are your favorite artists you're listening to right now?
So I've been listening to a lot of the African artists. I absolutely love Ashake. I love Omale. I love obviously Burna Boy, who doesn't, Olamide. I've been listening to a lot of the African Afrobeats music. I listen to a lot of reggae as well, naturally. I absolutely love Coi Leray's new album. I am so proud of her. I feel like she's so underrated, but Coi Leray is definitely dope, and I feel like she is, someone that represents the new generation quite well. So, and of course, MRG, that's right. MRG is one of my favorites as well. So, yes.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. So from a marketing perspective, that are listening from a marketer's perspective, you mentioned Cola Ray. What are some things that you feel like
I think we lost him for a second, but he was talking about like what about Coyle Ray that you like so much? What is she doing that artists should do and kind of copy?
So, I also wanted to say that I love Victoria Monet too. But I think what artists could, see Coi Leray and Victoria Monet doing is that they're being themselves and they've been consistent to who they are since they came out. They've gotten Koi has gotten a lot of backlash, but I love that she has still maintained to be her true self, and I think that's the beauty of what makes her so successful now. So, I think that when artists try to be different, that's when their success does not rise to where they want to be.
Okay. So should artists focus on being just themselves and just independently and not focus on trying to stick with trends and follow other artists and what they're doing? That's kind of where you at with it?
No, I think that they can still be themselves, and still follow certain trends to their, to what fits them best. I'm not saying to jump on every trend, but I'm saying, to follow trends that do fit them to their personality. I'm not saying to do something that doesn't completely represent them or that they don't like, but to do something, and to stay consistent with who they are, only do things that match with you, with your personality and things like that.
Great, great. One thing when you when you talk about Koi's story, it's not like a overnight kind of story. She's been around for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
How should artists approach their careers when we have so many like overnight TikTok success stories? How should they be looking at the long game and actually building groundwork and actually connecting with their fans to build a long lasting career and stack their wins?
Hmm. Well, you see, like you mentioned, Koi, she's been around for a few years, so perfect example. It's hard to just become an overnight success, and I feel like when those who become an overnight success, they do that, they kind of are unprepared on how to maintain that longevity. So I think just to take your time with things is important, but also just to maintain who you are and what kind of artist you are in the midst of that, you know? Because it took Koi a few years to blow up, but that's because she's been working on who she is and her craft and staying true to her personality. So I feel like that's why now it's working for her.
And I think as a fan, we get a chance to watch the artists grow and like find their flow and experiment with their sounds. So I think it's a good thing, like when you can just, you know, let your fans just kind of sit in on your journey and kind of
Mm-hmm.
see, sometimes your first release you may not have it all together, but they can kind of see the releases getting better, each release just stacking up and seeing you experiment with sounds and becoming, lyrically better or becoming a better writer or having better production. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of showcasing that journey. I think is very important for up and coming artists, and just be true to your story.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
I think amazing questions. And I thank you, Shakira, for all the insight that you've been giving everybody. I really do.
Thank you for having me. It was great. I loved it. Thank you so much. Yeah, the questions were great. Very
Yes.
informative.
Nakeem is back.
Yeah, hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry, connection cut out, but thank you for taking the time to be able to speak with us, and I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate you all. And hopefully, this happens again in the near future. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes. We'll be doing these weekly. So just stay on the lookout. Our community will have another speaker next week. And just kind of giving you guys more insight on how you guys can be better artists, better business people, navigate this music industry. So it's just one of many resources that Beat Library provides. We're happy to do it. And I just encourage everybody to keep creating. I want to motivate everybody to keep making music, keep doing your thing. We're listening, we're watching, and have fun with it. And yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you all.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Shakira.